Hi darlings, thank you so much for joining me on the Creative Retreat channel today. And today I have a Bible process for you in my Interleaf Bible, and it's featuring the Abundantly More July Faith Art Box. This devotional was so good. I really dissected it and took my time to really break down and go through the reflection questions in my head and kind of meditate on God's word. So I will be journaling today in Matthew chapter 14, verses 13 through 21. It actually finishes over on the next page, but I'm going to start right here in this page so I can journal on my right hand side. So it starts down here at the bottom. And I will be using, I have a couple of the Faithful Digitals cut out that I knew I wanted to use. I also have the Lucie stamp set. That's the new stamp set in the shop. I will link it below for you. The stamp set that comes with the kit, and some of the cardstock stickers that also come with the kit. Additionally, I do have some enamel dots from the Creative Retreat past kits that I like to keep on hand that I will be using. And so yeah, that's it. Let's dig in. So I was inspired by the stamp set. It has these two scales. One of them is an outline and another one is filled in. And you can definitely stamp them together and use that. But I wanted to stamp it out on some pattern paper and also this glitter paper in order for me to create kind of a 3D effect on my page. So here you see me use that outline, and I'm just stamping that out with my Versa Magic. Actually, it's Versa Fine Ink. In hindsight, I would have used Stays On, and I think it would have been a little bit better, but we're rolling with the punches here. So now I'm going to use it on top of this scale swatch. And so in the Faithful Digitals, usually there is a page that has some pattern paper, and so I'm using it on here. Now the scales on here are a little smaller scale than the ones on the actual stamp set, but that's okay because I'm loving the fun effect that it gives. So you see me cut this out. And now I have two different types of scales, and I fussy cut those off screen, and I'm going to set them. Now pulling my Bible back onto my desk, I add a book under it just to give me a little bit more sturdiness. And now I'm going to kind of map out how I want my page. So I'm going to have these scales kind of as both the waves and the bottom of the sea. I know that sounds kind of funny, but I just wanted to create like kind of a whimsical page behind my inspiration of the buffet and the miracle that we see when Jesus feeds the 5,000. So I go ahead and I'm going to use the ones that were stamped out on the Faithful Digital pattern paper. I'm going to use those on a flat layer. So I'm going to use some of this glue and add them directly to my page. And then I'll use some pop dots or some foam adhesive to pop up the ones that I stamped out on the cardstock. So some of them will be laying flat and some of them will be popped up. This was going to create a beautiful layered 3D effect on my page. So I will nestle these together to kind of create that layered effect. And the same technique that I use on the bottom, in the same way I will use it towards the top of my page. So as I said, I am journaling in Matthew chapter 14, verses 13 through 21. And this is where we see where Jesus feeds the 5,000, the oh so famous miracle. And it's one of those Bible study or Bible school stories that we learn as a child. But as we grow, we see how that miracle is actually happening in our lives each and every day. And I love how Erin breaks it down and speaks to us about it. She tells us that the story isn't really about food or people, but it's about the generosity of the God of the universe. I love how Aaron Davis also tells us that they were in the presence of Jesus, that he was the only one that can satisfy the hunger of their hearts. In other words, they weren't just being physically satisfied, but also spiritually. And I love that she also says he would give them more than just a snack. He would give them a smorgasbord or a smorgasbord. And I had to look up that word, and it actually means a buffet or a wide range of something. Over on screen, you saw that I finished up my kind of fish scales here. And then what I did was on the empty spaces, I did use my Dina Wakley blue to kind of cover up or fill in some of the empty spaces. Now I'm using a mix of the cardstock stickers, this little leafy design. I'm using a mix of that and the ones that are in the Faithful Digitals that I cut out. And I am going to use these as seaweed. And so I'm placing some at the bottom in a little cluster, and I'll be doing a cluster towards the top as well. There's a lot of fussing that goes on, but I end up adding fishes to my scenery. And then after I add fishes, I wanted to use the sentiment on this tag. So I cut it out because I actually wanted it as a square piece. And I am going to place this on my page. So I cut it out as a square, and then I'm gonna layer it, adding a little bit of that blue from the glitter cardstock again. So I lay that down, and I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. And I'll add some pop dots to the back of it. That way it can pop off the page just like the other blue scales that I have there. So I add a bit more fish, and then I'm going to start on my title. The title I decided to choose for my page was The Smorgasbord Miracle, because honestly, this miracle was a buffet, and it was a wide range because he both provided spiritually and physically what the crowd needed. I think that it's important for us to know that God is able to provide for us. His provision will provide for us in the physical aspect, but also in the spiritual aspect. So he is going to provide for our homes just as much as he provides for our spiritual needs, the needs of the heart and the needs of the soul. So I'm using that new Lucie Alpha stamp. I'm going to link that below for you. I love this stamp, this Alpha stamp, and I just use my VersaFine black ink, and I basically stamp out that title, The Smorgasbord Miracle, to my page. I'm also using my Dina Wakley spray again, just to add some splatters to the back of my page. And of course, you saw me grab my Pashka, which is an acrylic paint pen. I had a little oopsie, and what I did was I covered up that oopsie with that white paint pen. And there, you can't see it anymore. So that's a little tip that you can use. Lastly, I'll grab this little textured stamp that you can find in the stamp set for this kit. And I'm using Rose Corsage and that mermaid teal to add some little bubbles and a fun feature to my fish. I also cut down one of the labels that you can find in the Faithful Digital, and I'm using that right under that sentiment that I placed up there so I can put my date stamp on there. That is it, darlings. I love how it turned out. I'll make sure to link below Abundantly More if you haven't picked it up so you can pick it up. Also, any supplies that I used on this page and the playlist so you can check out all the goodness that my team members are doing. Thank you so much for joining me each and every video here on the Creative channel. God bless. Bye.